Hi, welcome back. Let's get into another episode of how to help women sell more. Today, I want to talk about exposure and what that really means to not only you, but to your business. So if you're on and you're taking a look at this video, great. I appreciate you coming in. Please make sure that you click like and make sure you click share. And also, please subscribe to this channel, How to Help Women Sell More. And if you are moved, please leave comments. And along with your comments, your email address so that we can stay in touch. So I want to move quickly to this word called exposure. What does that really mean when you're trying to sell more, when you're trying to either get your product out there or get yourself out there for whatever services that you may want to offer? Exposure is really a key ingredient after you make your product selection or decide on the business that you want to be in. It's really about the exposure. How do I get myself out there? How do I get my product out there? Remember, a few videos before now, I told you that people will buy you before they ever buy the product. So what is it that I need to do in order to sell my product or sell my service? Well, you have to begin with the exposure of yourself. Are you exposed enough? A lot of times when we go into businesses or we start our own business or we become a first-time entrepreneur, we depend on the development of our business from our closest friends and family. But let me tell you, if you start there, that may be a great starting place. They consider that your warm market. So I know when I was selling cars, the people that I told first that I was selling cars were people that I knew, friends and family, people that were close to me, because I knew that they would spread the word and they would get the word out that, hey, she's selling cars and you might want to go check her out. So I knew that that would be my first line. Well, what happens after you reach all of that line of family and friends? Well, you have to decide now in the beginning of starting your business of how am I going to expose myself to other people outside of my warm market. So when you think about that word exposure, it's not just about the product, it's more about the branding, and you are the brand that you're trying to sell. So you have to expose yourself to other people beyond your warm market. And one of the things that you can really do is stay engaged. I know that sounds, you've probably heard this many times about how engaged are you and not even really giving it a second thought. But engagement is so important because what I do know is that when you show up and you're consistent and it's continuous and people can count on that, then guess what? You gain viewers, you gain people that will watch you, you gain people that are looking on to see how you're going and how you're growing and what's going on. It may not necessarily be that you gain an instantaneous customer or client, but what it will do is it will cause a thought pattern to arise for that person that now your exposure becomes a part of their behavior system. What are you saying? So, for instance, I go live and I do my lives consistently. Well, what has been established is that people have come to an expectation that I am going to be live and they know when I'm going to be live. So guess what? Now that has become part of their behavior. What is their behavior? They have moved me into a part of their daily lifestyle, meaning that I know she's going to be live at this specific time on this specific day. And so whatever it is that I have to do, I need to make sure that I'll be present when she's live. That's exposure. When people start including you and your exposure in their daily habits, right? That means that they change their schedule or they alter their schedule a little bit to make sure that they are present when you expose yourself, thereby exposing your product. So if you show consistency and you show that it's going to be continuous with your exposure, you will inadvertently do yourself a grand favor. And what is that grand favor? You will, by doing this, cause them to change or alter their daily schedule to include you into their daily schedule. Now, listen, exposure does not necessarily mean that every time you come on or every time you say something that it's maybe related to the product that you're selling or the product that you're promoting or the business that you're selling. But exposure means is that people begin to recognize who you are. You're putting yourself out there enough where people begin to recognize who you are. They listen, they start listening to what you have to say. They start understanding the things that you are saying, and they start reading what you're posting out there. So one of the great ways that you can do this is through social media. But once again, what does social media require us to do? Social media requires us to be consistent, right? You can't build a client base without being consistent. So consistency in your exposure is very important. Exposing yourself to other organizations, to other groups, maybe to groups that you are unfamiliar with. Well, maybe you get familiar with them, read up on them, find someone that you may know who's involved in the group and expose yourself to what the intricacies are of that group. And then when you expose yourself and you expose your brand, now guess what? You just created another level of client base that you could use or take advantage of because you've shown that you're willing to expose yourself and you've shown consistency in that exposure. So take advantage of your social media platforms that you have in this COVID-19. Unfortunately, we're not all out in the public shaking hands and kissing babies and all that stuff. We're not out doing that. So your social media platforms are very good places for you to begin to have that exposure, to get in front of people and yet still be in the comfort of your own environment. But remember, it's you are the brand that people need to see. You are the brand that people are going to buy into. So what does your exposure look like? Are you on social media? If you are on social media, maybe you're on one platform, maybe you need to expand to 2 platforms. If you're on social media on one platform, how often are you engaging? How often are you posting? How often are you saying something? How often are you commenting? How many friends do you have? Have you considered those things? And I'll tell you this, sometimes, when you're growing, when you're trying to start your business and you're trying to get it off the ground, sometimes you have to go through, I call it the skeletal process. And the skeletal process is that sometimes you have to get rid of the excess baggage and lose the weight, if you will, and peel it all the way back to the bone. So what am I saying? Well, what I'm saying is that everybody that is your friend on whatever social media platform, should that person really be your friend? Are they engaging back with you? Are they commenting? So what does that mean? I may have to go through my social media platform, and I may have to remove some people that are my friends, or remove some people that are following me, or remove some people that I may be following. Why is that so important? Because this is your brand, no one else's brand. And so we have to be mindful and be very protective of our brand. I have to be protective of my brand. And I also have to be protective of my brand to the point that I have to pay attention to who is attached to me and my brand. That's very important. That's a lesson for today. Pay attention to who's attached to you and your exposure. Well, what does that mean? That means that sometimes we've accepted friend requests from people, or they followed us, and we don't necessarily know what they're into. So that may be a thing where when you look at exposing yourself, exposing your brand, and then introducing your business or your service, you might want to check those things to see what these people are doing on their platforms. Because trust me, if you don't check it, your potential clients or your potential business partners will definitely do some checking. And what I would hate to have happen for you is that you have someone attached to you as a friend or someone that you're following, and maybe their posting is something completely opposite of your views, your brand, how you live your life, what your thoughts and feelings are. So be careful with that. Check your exposure. Put yourself out there. Be willing to be open to put yourself out there. Go through your social media. And if you're only on one platform, expand your platform. And then check those things or those other people that are attached to you. Check their media and see what they're doing. Is this someone that I want attached to my brand? Is this someone that I would want a business partner of mine to see that I'm attached to them? So those are things that you really, really, really have to consider. So exposure is key, and putting yourself out there is key, because once you exhaust that warm market of your family and friends, then where does your business go? Does it plateau? Does it stop? Or are you already engaging into the colder market to warm that market up as well? Exposure is very important. Put yourself out there. Put your brand out there. You are your brand. Put your brand out there, and then you can definitely warm that market up and then start showing your product or your services that you offer. So remember, if you don't remember anything else, exposure is key. And ask yourself this question: how am I exposing myself in order to expand my brand? Thank you so much for joining me. Please don't forget to leave comments, click subscribe, hit like, and also share this video with others. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate all the comments that I've received. And I also appreciate my clients who have given me really constructive criticism in building my brand. So be open. It's about exposure. Expose yourself. Be open. Thank you so much, guys. And I look forward to seeing you again with another episode of How to Help Women Sell More. Go, ladies. You can do this. No excuses. Make it happen. Exposure is key. Have a great day.